On November 2nd, there were only 3 days left until the voting day of the U.S. presidential election. Judging from the polls, it was still hard to tell who would win between Republican presidential candidate Trump and Democratic presidential candidate Harris. Whether the Democrats can win the so-called blue wall 3 states of Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Michigan in the Rust Belt has attracted much attention. In the final stage of the election campaign, the candidates have attacked each other more fiercely. The war of words targeting individuals rather than policies has made many voters feel uneasy. On November 1st local time, Trump made another crazy statement during a campaign event. He claimed that after he destroyed the Nord Stream 2 gas pipeline, he was immediately contradicted by a Kremlin spokesman. He also attacked critic Liz Cheney as a war hawk and an idiot, and said that 9 guns should be pointed at her and fired. During the 2020 U.S. election, before the vote counting was completed, Trump rashly announced his victory in advance. Moreover, he reached an agreement with his supporters, insisting that there was massive fraud in this election, which undoubtedly cast a shadow over the U.S. election. Time flies, and the voting day of the 2024 U.S. election is just around the corner. Democrats have speculated that history may repeat itself, and Trump may repeat his old trick and declare victory again before the official results are announced. It is worth noting that the thrilling scene of the Capitol riot in 2021 still lingers, like a lingering haze over the United States. According to relevant surveys, nearly 80% of registered U.S. voters are worried that after this year's election, there may be some violent incidents attempting to overthrow the election results, which would be another heavy blow to the U.S. democratic system. To cope with possible crises, on November 1st, the state of Washington has activated the National Guard and put them on standby, ready to respond to possible civil unrest during this year's election. The whole United States is in a tense and uneasy atmosphere. Earlier this week, Trump clearly stated that he was looking forward to declaring his victory on November 5th, the election day. Currently, the competition between Trump and Harris is extremely fierce. According to the poll results released by Forbes in the United States on October 31st local time, the situation is extremely tense. Harris is only leading Trump by a very narrow margin of 1%. More complicated lie. About 10% of voters have not yet made up their minds, and they may change their minds before the election, which undoubtedly adds more uncertainty to the election results. According to past practice, mainstream media in the United States usually announce the winner of the election after in-depth analysis of the vote counting data provided by election officials. Although in some special circumstances, candidates have declared victory before the official results are announced. This is after all a minority situation and not the norm in elections. When being interviewed by the media on October 30th, Harris, in response to the situation that Trump might prematurely declare victory, said seriously, "If Trump really does this again, we are fully prepared. If we detect that he is manipulating the media and attempting to manipulate the consensus of American voters through improper means and thus affecting the fairness of the election, we will not sit by idly. We will respond resolutely." However, Harris did not elaborate on what specific preparatory work they had done. Nevertheless, on November 1st, 6 Democratic Party officials and members of Harris' campaign team disclosed some information to the media. They said that the Democratic Party's preliminary response strategy would mainly be carried out in the public opinion battlefield. In the event that Trump prematurely declares victory, they plan to make a rapid and powerful response at the first opportunity. They will make full use of various channels such as social media and television broadcasts to launch large-scale publicity activities. On the one hand, they will explain in detail to the public the importance and rigor of the vote counting work, making the public understand that the election results need to be determined through legal procedures. On the other hand, They will vigorously appeal to the public to remain calm and patient during the vote counting period, not to be misled by false information, and avoid unnecessary social unrest caused by impulse. They hope to maintain the fairness of the election and social stability in this way among them. A senior official of the Democratic National Committee said, once Trump wrongly declares victory, we are ready to disclose the truth on television and fight back with the influence of the general public. A senior official of Harris' team also said in a conference call with reporters that they fully expect that Trump will falsely claim victory before all the ballots have been counted. The official said, he has done this before. If he does it again, he will face defeat. In the early morning of the day after the 2020 election day, Trump declared himself the winner, 3 days earlier than the first mainstream media announced the election results. Trump eventually lost to his Democratic opponent, current President Joe Biden, but he refused to concede and, along with his supporters, firmly believed that there was massive fraud in the election according to Reuters. Trump and his Republican allies have prepared contingency plans for a possible defeat. Trump often appeals to his supporters at campaign rallies that they need to ensure the victory is too big to be manipulated. The Trump campaign team previously told the media that Trump will strive for all votes until the end of the voting, but did not directly answer the question of whether Trump plans to declare victory again before the vote counting is completed on November 1st. Washington State Governor Jay Inslee decided to activate the state's National Guard and instructed them to be on standby in case they need to respond to civil unrest related to the election. Inslee said on his website, based on the information received so far and concerns about possible violence or other illegal activities during the 2024 election, I want to make sure we are fully prepared for this. The U.S. Department of Homeland Security has warned that threats to election infrastructure remain high during the 2024 election cycle. Election-related riot incidents have already occurred in the southwestern region of Washington State. On October 28, an explosion occurred at a ballot box in Vancouver, Washington State, damaging or destroying hundreds of ballots. A similar incident also occurred at a ballot box in Portland, Oregon on November 2nd, according to Reference News. CNBC quoted expert analysis as saying that due to concerns about riots, a record number of wealthy Americans plan to leave the United States indefinitely after the presidential election. The report said that on the eve of the November 5th election, more and more wealthy Americans are planning to leave the United States because many are worried that there will be political and social unrest no matter who wins. Lawyers and advisors for high-income families have seen a record increase in client demand for second passports or long-term overseas residency, writes Dominic Volke, head of the private client department at Henley Partners, which provides international immigration advice to the wealthy. Said, "We have never seen demand like this before." He said that wealthy Americans have become the company's largest client group for the first time, accounting for 20% of its clientele. Volke also said that the number of Americans planning to move overseas has increased by at least 30% compared with last year. A poll found that 53% of American millionaires said they are more likely to leave the United States after the election no matter who is elected. A principal of an international tax and immigration company said that over the past 30 years, American clients mainly considered moving overseas for tax reasons. But now politics and concerns about violent incidents have increased this demand. Lawyers said that the reasons for the wealthy to consider leaving also include mass shootings, potential political violence, and the soaring debt in the United States as the voting approaches. Trump makes another controversial statement on November 1st. At a campaign event with former Fox News host Tucker Carlson, Trump said that he was the one who destroyed the Nord Stream gas pipeline. "No one but me could have destroyed it. I stopped it. It was half built and then stopped." Trump also expressed anger at those who called him a friend of Russia and said that it was under his leadership that the United States stopped the construction of the Nord Stream 2 pipeline. Subsequently, Kremlin spokesman Peskov responded that the Nord Stream 2 pipeline had actually been completed long ago, and one of the undamaged pipelines out of a total of 4 pipelines could be launched at any time. So it was unclear what Trump meant by the stop in construction on September 26, 2022. The Baltic Sea submarine gas pipelines Nord Stream 1 and Nord Stream 2, which connect Russia with Germany and other European countries, exploded violently in the waters near Denmark and Sweden, causing a large amount of natural gas leakage. Investigations found that 3 of the 4 pipelines leaked, and it was suspected of being man-made sabotage at the same event. Trump also launched a personal attack on his critic Liz Cheney, calling her very stupid, a war hawk, a fool, and an idiot, and even threatened to shoot her. Trump said, "We make her stand there with a rifle and shoot at her with 9 guns. Let's see how she feels." Subsequently, Cheney quickly responded, calling Trump a dictator. She retweeted the relevant video on a social media platform and wrote, "This is how dictators destroy free countries. They issue death threats to those who oppose them. We can't entrust our country and freedom to a narrow-minded, malicious, cruel, unstable person who wants to be a tyrant." Liz Cheney is the daughter of former U.S. Vice President Dick Cheney. She was a Republican congresswoman and the 3rd-ranking Republican leader in the House of Representatives. She has always been a critic of Trump. In May 2021, Republicans in the U.S. House of Representatives voted to remove Liz Cheney from her party leadership position to punish her for opposing former Republican President Donald Trump.